It was a quiet evening in Barcelona. Lionel Messi had just returned home after a press conference, his tie loosened and exhaustion visible in his eyes. The kids were supposed to be in bed, but as he walked into the living room, an eerie silence replaced what was usually laughter and the hum of cartoons. "Antonella?" he called out. No response. He rushed upstairs. The bedroom light was on, the bed empty. And then he saw it. A single paper plane lying on the floor with one sentence scribbled in red ink. "If you want him back, don't involve the police." Panic rushed through his body like cold steel. His youngest son, Thiago, was missing. Messi's hands trembled as he picked up his phone. But instead of calling the police, he dialed someone else. Cristiano Ronaldo. Meanwhile, in Lisbon, Ronaldo was at home with his own children when his phone buzzed. Seeing Messi's name, he raised an eyebrow. It wasn't often they talked outside of football events. "Leo?" he answered. There was a long pause, followed by a trembling whisper. "They took Thiago. I don't know who, but they left a note. No police. I need you." Ronaldo stood up slowly, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "I'm on my way." Within hours, a private jet was refueled and in the air. Ronaldo didn't travel alone. With him were two former Portuguese intelligence agents, men who owed him favors from days long buried in secrecy. His goal wasn't just to support Messi emotionally. He was going to bring Thiago back. The first clue. Back at Messi's home, Ronaldo examined the paper plane. Its fold pattern wasn't random. It matched an old Soviet intelligence cipher used in Eastern Europe. Only a few knew how to fold it perfectly. "Leo," Ronaldo said, narrowing his eyes, "this isn't a regular kidnapping. This is calculated. Someone wants to send a message." They scanned security footage. Nothing out of the ordinary, but Ronaldo noticed something subtle. A gardener who appeared on 3 different days but never trimmed anything. Always wore gloves. And once he carried a black case with no tools inside. "Can I see your garden shed?" Ronaldo asked. Inside, among old soccer cleats and garden hoses, was a tiny scratch on the wall panel, almost invisible. He pried it open. Inside was a small, hidden compartment. Inside that, a USB. What was on the USB shocked them. Footage. Surveillance. Someone had been spying on Messi's family for months. Messi watched in horror as hidden cameras showed intimate moments. School pickups, backyard play, even conversations in the kitchen. A voice echoed on the final. Ronaldo activated his own network. Years of fame brought fans, but also contacts in strange places. They learned the man behind this was Miguel Alvaro, a former youth talent from Rosario, Messi's hometown. His career ended before it began, and he blamed Messi. Alvaro had built a network in Eastern Europe, working in underground fight circuits and tech surveillance, and now he had Messi's son. A final tip came from Istanbul. A contact had seen a man matching Alvaro's description boarding a freighter to an undisclosed port, but he didn't realize someone was tracking him now. The operation begins. Ronaldo turned to Messi. "If we wait for Interpol, he'll vanish. Let's do this ourselves." Messi nodded. "Tell me what to do." Ronaldo assembled a small team, an ex-Navy SEAL sniper, a Turkish hacker named Selim, and a woman known only as Nocturne, a master of infiltration. They tracked Alvaro to an abandoned monastery in the mountains of Romania. It was cold, remote, guarded. Inside was Thiago, scared but unharmed. The infiltration. The cold bite of the Romanian night air wrapped around the team as they positioned themselves. Selim, hunched over his laptop in a nondescript van parked miles away, tapped furiously, his fingers dancing across the keyboard. He was a whirlwind of caffeine and code, bypassing the monastery's digital defenses with an almost casual ease. "Got him," he muttered, a faint green glow from the screen reflecting in his glasses. Cameras looped, comms down, power grid. Well, let's just say they're about to have a very dark night. Miles closer, hidden in the thick undergrowth, Nocturne moved with the silent grace of a predator. Her dark clothing blended seamlessly with the shadows, her movements fluid and purposeful. A small, almost invisible device was clamped onto a high-voltage line. With a quiet click, she activated it. A surge, a flicker, then absolute darkness enveloped the ancient monastery. Alarms, which had been set to blare, sputtered and died, caught in Selim's digital web. Ronaldo and Messi, clad in black tactical gear, moved like specters through the sudden, oppressive gloom. The air, thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying stone, was punctuated only by the whisper of their boots on the fallen leaves. Messi's heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the eerie silence. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat. Every rustle of leaves a potential ambush. He wasn't a fighter. He was a footballer. A maestro of the pitch, accustomed to the roar of adoring crowds, not the cold grip of fear. Yet, tonight, he was more than a sportsman. He was a father, propelled by a primal instinct to protect his child. His hands, usually so deft with a ball, now clutched the cold grip of a silenced pistol, its weight unfamiliar and unsettling. Ronaldo, by contrast, moved with a seasoned calm, his movements precise and economical. His eyes, keen and alert, scanned every angle, every potential threat. He was a force of nature, a living embodiment of controlled aggression. He'd faced defenders, scored impossible goals, but this was different. This was real, and the stakes were higher than any championship. Using a detailed blueprint Selim had downloaded, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the monastery. The building, abandoned for decades, was a decaying monument to forgotten piety. Now, a cage for a terrified child. Dust motes danced in the faint moonlight filtering through broken windows, giving the air an ethereal quality. They passed crumbling frescoes, empty cells, and the skeletal remains of ancient wooden furniture. Each creak of the floorboards, each drip of water from the leaking roof, amplified the tension. Finally, they reached a heavy, iron-bound door. Selim's intelligence confirmed it. Tiago was inside. Messi held his breath, his hand shaking as he reached for the cold metal handle. Ronaldo placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder, a silent gesture of support. The lock, a rusty, ancient mechanism, groaned as it gave way. The doors swung inward, revealing a small, damp room. In the corner, a small, huddled figure sat, blindfolded, hands bound. "Thiago," Messi whispered, his voice choked with emotion, a fragile sound in the vast silence. The boy, startled by the voice, flinched. Then, as Messi ripped off the blindfold, his eyes, wide with fear, locked onto his father's. A sob escaped him, and he launched himself into Messi's arms, a small, trembling bundle of relief and terror. Messi held him tight, burying his face in his son's hair, the scent of him, of home, washing over him like a wave. But the escape wasn't silent. The ancient hinges of the door, though oiled, let out a faint, telltale squeal. The chase through the forest. A harsh, guttural shout echoed from the corridor. "Intruders!" Immediately, gunfire erupted, splintering the silence. Ronaldo, his reflexes honed by years of elite competition and clandestine training, shoved Messi and Thiago behind a crumbling stone pillar. "Go! I'll cover you!" he barked, drawing his own weapon. He returned fire, the muzzle flash illuminating his grim determination. Nocturne, having anticipated this, activated her diversion. Smoke grenades. Precisely placed moments before, detonated with a series of muffled thuds, spewing thick, acrid clouds that instantly choked the narrow corridors. The air filled with the smell of burning sulfur, disorienting the approaching guards. The shouts of the attackers turned to coughs, their confused shouts muffled by the swirling haze. "Move, Leo! Go!" Ronaldo roared. laying down suppressive fire, forcing the guards to take cover. Messi, clutching Thiago tightly to his chest, stumbled through the smoke, following Ronaldo's desperate command. The boy, though shaken, clung to his father, his small face buried in Messi's shoulder. They burst out of a rear exit, propelled by the relentless pressure from behind. The cold, crisp night air bit at their faces, a welcome shock after the claustrophobic confines of the monastery. They fled into the ancient, whispering woods surrounding the monastery, the pursuit hot on their heels. The uneven ground, treacherous with roots and fallen leaves, made their escape difficult. Messi, unaccustomed to such physical exertion under duress, felt his lungs burn, his legs scream in protest. But the weight of Thiago in his arms, the precious cargo he carried, fueled him. Every stumble was quickly recovered, every pain ignored. Ronaldo ran beside them, a silent sentinel, his eyes darting through the darkness, scanning every direction, every tree, every shadow for threats. He moved with an almost primal efficiency, his powerful legs effortlessly navigating the difficult terrain. He was a human shield, a guardian angel in the night. The sporadic crack of gunfire behind them, the shouts of the enraged guards, spurred them onward. Through the dense canopy, a faint rhythmic thumping grew louder. A helicopter, their extraction. Salim and Nocturne had secured it, a vital lifeline in this desperate gambit. Hope, a fragile ember, flickered within Messi. But then, a figure emerged from the deeper shadows of the trees, directly in their path. It was Miguel Alvaro. His face, illuminated by the faint moonlight, was a mask of cold fury, contorted by years of festering resentment. He held a pistol, its dark barrel glinting ominously. "You think you can just take him back?" Alvaro hissed, his voice raspy with malice, a chilling echo in the otherwise silent forest. His eyes, burning with a decade of vengeful obsession, fixed on Messi. Messi instinctively shielded Thiago, pulling the boy further behind him, his body a desperate barrier. Ronaldo, his jaw set, stepped forward, placing himself between Messi and the kidnapper. "Put it down, Miguel," he commanded, his voice low and steady, laced with an authority that Alvaro's lips curled into a sneer. He shook his head, a chilling, almost deranged smile playing on his face. "After all this, after everything you took from me, Messi? Never." He raised the pistol, his aim wavering slightly but clear. Time seemed to slow. Messi braced himself, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Ronaldo tensed, ready to spring, to intercept, to do whatever it took. Then, a single sharp crack echoed through the forest, followed by a muffled thud. It wasn't Alvaro's pistol. From the ridge above, almost invisible in the pre-dawn gloom, Nocturne had taken the shot. A master of her craft, she had used the last vestiges of twilight to deliver a precise, incapacitating blow. Alvaro's body stiffened, a surprised grunt escaping his lips. The pistol clattered to the ground, and he crumpled, falling into the damp leaves. His vengeful quest ended. Back to safety. The thumping of the helicopter grew deafening as it descended into a small clearing just ahead. Its powerful rotors churned the cold morning air, whipping up a vortex of leaves and dust. The side door slid open, revealing the stoic face of the ex-Navy SEAL sniper, his weapon at the ready. Messi, still clutching Thiago, half ran, half stumbled towards the waiting aircraft, his legs feeling like lead. Ronaldo, ever vigilant, kept his eyes on the surrounding tree line until Messi and Thiago were safely inside. Then, with a final glance at the still form of Alvaro, he agilely swung himself into the helicopter. The ramp hissed shut, and the powerful machine lifted off just as the first slivers of dawn painted the eastern sky in hues of orange and soft pink. Below them, the sprawling, dark mass of the Romanian wilderness slowly receded, eventually giving way to rolling hills and then the distant, twinkling lights of civilization. Inside the helicopter, the tension slowly began to drain from Messi's body, replaced by an overwhelming wave of exhaustion and profound relief. He held Thiago close, rocking him gently. The boy, finally safe, had drifted into a fitful sleep, his small hand still clutching his father's shirt. Messi's own hands, which had trembled with panic just hours before, now shook with the aftermath of adrenaline, but this time from the sheer, overwhelming joy of having his son back. He looked across at Ronaldo, his rival, his competitor, now sitting opposite him, his face streaked with dirt and sweat, his tactical gear rumpled. Ronaldo met his gaze, a rare, genuine smile slowly spreading across his face, a glimmer of the familiar arrogance replaced by something softer, more human. "How do I ever repay you?" Ronaldo chuckled, a low, tired sound. He ran a hand through his sweat-dampened hair. "You already did, Leo," he replied, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "You trusted me. That's enough." The helicopter continued its journey, carrying them away from the nightmare and back towards the known world, a world where football ruled and not the shadows of vengeful men. The rising sun bathed the cabin in a warm golden light, a promise of a new day, a new beginning. A week later. The world never knew what happened in the remote mountains of Romania. News cycles moved on, obsessed with transfer rumors and upcoming matches. The media only reported that Thiago had been sick and Messi had taken some much-needed family time off. A story easily swallowed by a public accustomed to the private lives of celebrities. The details of Miguel Alvaro's fate were carefully managed, his shadowy network dismantled in the quiet efficiency of international intelligence. Salim, Nocturne, and the ex-SEAL sniper vanished back into the ether, their work done, their loyalty rewarded. But in Messi's spacious, sunlit home in Barcelona, a new photograph now hung on the living room wall, a silent testament to the extraordinary events that had transpired. It was an unofficial, candid shot taken by Salim just before their departure from the Romanian airstrip. Ronaldo, Messi, and a beaming Thiago, smiling, a breathtaking mountain sunrise painting the sky behind them in hues of fiery orange and soft violet. It was an image that defied logic, that shattered the carefully constructed narrative of their legendary rivalry. Two titans of the sporting world, once separated by fierce competition and legions of fans, now bound by something far deeper than trophies or records, something forged in the crucible of fear, loss, and desperate rescue. Something eternal. Brotherhood. The bond wasn't spoken of, not overtly. It didn't need to be. It manifested in subtle ways. A knowing glance across a crowded room at a FIFA gala, a brief, genuine nod before a charity match, a quiet understanding that transcended the cheers and the jeers of the stadium. They were still rivals on the pitch, still driven by an insatiable desire to win, but off it a silent pact had been forged, a shared experience that had irrevocably altered their perception of each other and of themselves. Messi found himself looking at the photograph often, especially when Thiago was playing in the garden, his laughter echoing through the house. He saw not just the relief in his son's eyes, but the quiet strength in Ronaldo's posture, the unwavering commitment of a man who had dropped everything to answer a desperate call. He understood now that true greatness wasn't just about individual achievement, but about the profound impact one could have on another's life, especially in their darkest hour. Ronaldo, too, carried the experience with him, the thrill of the chase, the cold precision of the operation, the quiet heroism of their small team. It had awakened something dormant within him, a purpose beyond the roar of the stadium. He continued his football career, but there was a subtle shift in his demeanor, a quiet intensity that hinted at hidden depths. He received the occasional, discreet update from his former intelligence contacts, ensuring that the remnants of Alviro's network remained suppressed, a protective instinct that now extended beyond his own family. Their story, shrouded in secrecy, became a legend whispered only in the deepest echelons of their inner circles, a tale too incredible for the public to ever believe. But for Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, it was a profound truth, a turning point that redefined their legacy. It wasn't about who scored more goals or who won more Ballon d'Ors. It was about a bond forged in the crucible of a father's despair and a rival's unwavering loyalty. It was the untold story of two rivals who became something more, something unbreakable. It was the story of how, in the face of true darkness, the most unexpected alliances could emerge, proving that even the fiercest of adversaries could find common ground and an unbreakable bond when it mattered most.